Hello! I'm Elaine, and I'm a tour guide in the French Quarter. I do ghost tours. And I am not going to tell you the stories that I tell on my tour, because you gotta pay for those. But if you want to hear some interesting things that have happened to me while I'm leading random drunk people around the French Quarter, I got you.
I know I've mentioned that I've recently left the company I was with for about 8 years and switched to two new companies. And it's mostly great. I love them. They treat me a lot better than my old company. I really like the way they organize things, and they organize things in very different ways. But the one thing I don't like is neither of them ask for reports at the end of the tour. Like with my old company, at the end of each night, I would write a report of what happened on the tour. And these new companies don't want that. They don't ask for it. And the big problem is it leaves me without that feeling of completion. Like sending the report used to feel like I'm clocking out, I'm done for the night, this is the end. And I don't get that now. But there's also the little bit of stress of like trying to decide, is this important enough of an event for me to reach out outside of the normal reporting system to tell someone what happened? And like used to be, obviously I just put it in the reports no matter what. But now it's like, do I tell them that people left? Does it matter? Is it going to come up? But tonight was exceptionally bad because like I had a group that they were great. They were a bachelor party and they were a little bit too drunk, but they were the only people on the tour. They were all one group, they all knew each other, and nobody else was with them on the group. So that meant I didn't have to worry about them bothering anybody else. It didn't matter if they were interrupting me. It didn't matter if they talked over me. It didn't matter if they made bad, almost inappropriate jokes, because they were the only people. They weren't going to offend each other. We could just keep going. And it didn't matter that they wandered away a little bit. It didn't matter that they clearly were bored with some of the stories and were more interested in others. It didn't matter. And like they were fun. They made a lot of really stupid jokes. One of my favorites was near the end. So we were at a place that used to be a brothel, and the back rooms are now part of a hotel. And after telling the story, the groom raises his hand and is like, okay, so like if you're staying in the hotel and like you hear bumping and moving and feel the bed shaking, like, yeah, that's a thing. But if you stay at the hotel and you don't feel the bumping and hear the footsteps and whatnot, like, which one means you're ghosted? And it was such a bad joke. And it was one of those jokes that, like, clearly the rest of the group was a little bit too drunk to have followed. So they just sort of pause for a minute. And I'm like, oh my God, that's so bad. Because especially puns that you have to lead the people to understand the pun are the height of glory. And I felt bad because everybody, like, then started picking on him for having to, like, lead us to the pun. And I'm like, no, it's good. It's a style of joke. It's fine. But the important thing is right at the middle of the tour, we get to a bar, and this is one of the ones that we do stops inside when it's quiet enough inside, and that means there's a back section that we go and set up for the tour, and that means moving chairs around, setting up basically a little amphitheater in the back, and I've done that, and I'm waiting for my guests to come join me, and one of the guys comes up to me and is like, so there are a couple of very specific bars that we were planning on hitting tonight. And I'm about ready to panic, being afraid that he's going to be like, can you take us to those spots and tell us stories at those spots? Because fun fact, if it's not on my tour, chances are I don't know a story about it. And like bars are not really my main field of expertise. So I'm sitting here like, oh my God, I'm going to have to tell him I don't know anything about those bars. Oh God. But then he's like, yeah, so we're thinking this is going to be the last stop on the tour. We're going to let you go after this one. And we're just going to go off on our own. I'm like, okay, that sounds great. That's fine. Like, do you want me to tell the story? And he's like, yeah, definitely. I'm like, okay, so just like whenever everyone's ready, bring them down here, like gather everybody. We'll hang out. We'll tell the story. And then y'all can do whatever you want. And they eventually all make it down there, and I start telling the story, and everything's good, and the story's done. And then I'm like, okay, so is this the last stop? One of y'all mentioned that y'all think that you're gonna leave after this. Just, I want to confirm. I don't want to just abandon you halfway through the tour if y'all want to continue. And they're like, yeah, we think this is gonna be the end. And I'm like, okay. So I did the little conclusion speech, and then I was like, and I need to put the chairs back. But I don't want to ask y'all to leave if y'all want to hang out here, but I need to put the chairs back, and it's awkward because y'all have dismissed me, and it would be weird for me to just hang out waiting to move the chairs. And luckily one of the guys was like, oh, we'll take care of them. But of course, I'm leaving going, will they though? They're a bunch of drunk bachelors. So like I stop at the bartender to be like, hey, if they don't move the chairs back, I'm sorry, I'll make sure it's always good next time, but they said they'll move the chairs back. And she's like, it's fine. And then I'm going outside and just walking back to my car, and that's when the anxiety hits me and I start going, did they actually just want to bar hop after this? Or was it that I was terrible and they hated me? So, yeah, it would have helped to have that little conclusion at the end of the tour. And then I had to debate on the walk back. Should I message my boss that they left about halfway through? Or is that not important? So I put it in the group message with all the other guides, and who knows if that was the correct thing to do? Who knows? Don't forget to like and subscribe, and be sure to check out my book, Drunks of the French Quarter Theater, available on Amazon, bookshop.org, Barnes & Noble, pretty much wherever.